You can.
And I am the director of the Promise of Justice Initiative. We're a Louisiana-based private nonprofit that advocates for the fair, equal, and humane treatment of people who are in the criminal justice system. Some of our current projects include representing people who are incarcerated in Angola and challenging excessive heat, inadequate medical care, and failure to accommodate people who have disabilities. We're also involved in organizing statewide to end the death penalty in Louisiana, and we've been working most recently to educate Louisianans about the use of non-unanimous juries. Last year, the Promise of Justice Initiative released a report which documented the experiences of protesters in the East Baton Rouge Parish prison in the wake of the murder of Alton Sterling. Also last year, we joined with a number of nonprofits and inspiring community leaders to form the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition. I want to particularly call out the contributions of VOTE and the Progressive Social Network in helping us to do that. The report that we're releasing today builds on our report from last year, and it specifically focuses on the 25 lives tragically lost in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison between the years of 2012 and 2016. Today, the report's authors, Professor and Attorney Andrea Armstrong and Attorney Shanita Ferris, will present their findings and we'll have an opportunity for a question and answer. But first, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Reverend Alexis Anderson, who will lead us in a prayer.
Good afternoon, everyone. If we can bow our heads for a moment of prayer. Most gracious Heavenly Father, first we thank you for this opportunity to come and to share not good news, but powerful news that change has come. We thank you for the gathering of family members who have joined a club that no one would want to be part of. We thank you for watching over those who currently reside in the East Baton Rouge prison. We thank you for watching over their families. We thank you for those that gather in support of change and progress and reimagining. We thank you for being a loving and compassionate God for all that is necessary and needed for the long journey to improve public safety in East Baton Rouge prison. And as we close this prayer and ask you, Lord, if you might drop the temperature just a couple of degrees, but no rain, we thank you for this opportunity, and we lift up to you the names of those who are lost and ask that you cover their families, their friends, and the many people who are impacted by their loss. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. And as I read these names, please keep in mind that every single name on here represents a family, a son, an uncle, a friend that is no longer part of our community. Tilton Moore, 29 years old, 11/5/82, 1/15/2012. Raymond Broomfield, 57 years old, 12/25/1954, 2/10/2012. Kevin Irving, 41 years old, 3/24/1971 to 4/10/2012. James Sanchez, 60 years old, 10/6/1951 to 8/17/2012. Jesus Levi, 40 years old, 3/27/1972, 10/7/2012. Daniel Melton, 40 years old, 2/29/72, 11/3/2012. Cedric Matamoros, 33 years old, 9/10/79, 12/8/2012. Gilbert Franklin, 58 years old, 6/1/1954, 12/28/2012. Cedric Evans, 32, 1/20/1980, 1/16/2013. Don McDaniel, 64, 5/9/1948, 1/7/2013. David O'Quinn, 24, 11/26/1988, 2/26/2013. James Aquila, 73 years old. 7/17/1941, 11/14/2014. Paul Cleveland, 72 years old. 7/20/1942, 11/12/2014. Jeremy Hillard, 23 years old. 4/5/1991, 4/10/2014. Antoine Harden, 28. 1/27/1986, 7/27/2014. Randall Toller, 21 years old. 11/24/1993, 4/20/2015. Albert Hale, 45. 11/11/69, 5/7/2015. Lamar Johnson, 27. 10/18/87, 6/10/2015. Michael O'Neill, 46. 4/30/70, 8/20/2016. Tyreen Pober, 17. 3/16/1998, 2/18/2016. Samuel Sanchez, 64. 8/5/1952, 8/26/2016. Kevin Dufresne, 57. 3/12/1959, 6/22/2016. Brian Dupre, 44. 12/9/1971, 5/15/2016. Tyree Hammond, 47. 5/13/1969, 9/19/2016. Timothy Nations, 45. 10/7/1970, 9/19/2016.
Thank you, Reverend Anderson. Now we will have Attorney Shanita Ferris and Professor and Attorney Andrea Armstrong present their findings in their report titled Dying in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Their presentation will be followed by a question and answer.
Hello everyone, my name is Shanita Ferris. I am an attorney at the Promise of Justice Initiative. Today I am here to discuss the report Dying in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. There's a crisis that exists within the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison and has resulted in the lives lost for 25 individuals from 2012 to 2016. These deaths can be attributed to inadequate medical care, inadequate mental health care, and failure to train guards and staff on how to handle mental health crises. Death in local jails are a very rare occurrence on a national level. From 2000 to 2014, less than 20% of local jails reported a death. However, 2014, Louisiana reported 39 deaths, a tenth of which occurred in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. This crisis affects us all. These were men who were brothers, who were sons, a U.S. veteran. What? Who all died some who died within days of confinement, and others whose death happened over a year after their entry into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Again, these deaths can be attributed to the failure to provide any mental health care, any very inadequate medical health care, and also guards are not properly trained. The equipment is faulty, and the conditions of confinement are very harsh. For example, David O'Quinn, who was confined within East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for 13 days, and he spent over 170 hours with very few breaks confined to a restraint chair. His sores on his ankles were later infected by his own equity. Also, a death that occurred within the Parish prison was Antoine Hardin. Antoine Hardin was detained in the Parish prison for failure to leave a hotel lobby and was held under a $1,000 bond. Antoine was diagnosed with sickle cell disease and bipolar disorder. However, Antoine was not treated for his sickle cell disease and he died after 16 days of incarceration. Parish prison officials and city officials are very rarely held accountable. Since June of 2018, only 2 families have received any type of compensation for their loved one's death. This report urges city officials in Parish Jail to take accountability for the lives lost. It encourages jail officials to adequately train staff to provide more mental health opportunities, to better train healthcare professionals, and to better pay healthcare professionals. Again, this affects all. This could be any of us. However, we must hold the Parish prison responsible and accountable. If anyone would like to learn more, feel free to join the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrea Armstrong. I'm a professor at Loyola, and I'm also a founding board member of the Promise of Justice Initiative. So first, I want to tell you about these deaths in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison and how they predominantly affect minorities, the mentally ill, and the poor. The poor are impacted because of their inability to pay bail or costs of supervision. They rely on representation by public defenders, who often are underfunded and overloaded. The mentally ill. There are higher rates of mentally ill for families and individuals that live below the federal poverty line. And for minorities, 17 out of 25 of the deaths between 2012 and 2016 were of minorities. They are more likely in this city and in this place to be poor and to be denied basic government services due to segregated housing here in Baton Rouge. As Shanita Ferris mentioned, we make 5 recommendations in this report to address what we recovered under this research. The first is that the city and the jail must provide adequate medical and mental health care. Second, custodial staff must be trained in suicide prevention and in addressing medical complaints. Third, the jail must be sufficiently staffed. Fourth, this city has the opportunity to address pretrial detention, just as cities across Louisiana are doing, and they are reinvesting their savings into better community safety programs. Last, we need greater transparency by our jail and by our city officials. This report was only possible because of public records requests that were conducted by PJI and by Shanita Ferris to uncover the extent of deaths in this jail. I want to close by talking about the context here in Louisiana. Despite our vast experience in locking people up, city and state officials can't provide safe conditions for the people that we incarcerate. Louisiana is a leader in pretrial deaths. We are first in per capita deaths in state and federal prison in 2014. And we are a leading state in per capita local jails in 2014. Meaning we incarcerate more people than anywhere else in the country, and they die at faster rates in our jails than in our prisons. These deaths are not only preventable, but they are the predictable result. They are the predictable result of over-incarceration, of understaffing our jails and prisons, and of a punishment mentality which which imposes punishment on people who are innocent until proven guilty. 22 of the 25 who died here had not gone to trial yet on their charges, and therefore they were still innocent. All 25 are members of our community, and none of them deserve to die in jail, prison. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're now available to take questions. The report's authors are available, as well as Jennifer Harding and Reverend Anderson, who are members of the coalition, and Angelo Moses, whose son, Antoine Hardin, lost his life in the Parish prison as well. Does anyone have any questions?
A lot of the solutions you guys have offered in the report don't just start with the local jails, they start from state government and funding. So what specifically do you want to tell legislators about this report, and what do you want to see done from the state level that can affect the local level? Whoever.
Absolutely. Some of this is solely within the sheriff's control, and we need to actually lay responsibility where it can actually prove fruitful. We also know that the City Council, Metro City Council here in Baton Rouge, has actually known about a lot of this information and hasn't taken action. But in addition, you're right, there is a state component. And what I would say to our legislators is we really need to think about pretrial detention and doing it differently in Louisiana. Bail practices and risk assessments, we are doing that individually at the municipal level, but I'd love to see more progress on that at the state level.
My question is, this is in response from the sheriff's office's response to this report. Obviously, they don't know the specific details since it was embargoed and some news, but they say that the numbers of deaths in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison are well below the national average and come in at 0.01% and numbers like that. Also, they say that 5 of 6 deaths within the last year or two were due to heart issues from pre-existing health conditions. What do you say to that?
Hi. What I can say is that the processes that are used by the prison to pre-screen oftentimes are not done. And so many of these pre-existing situations are actually made many times worse by what is currently happening in our prisons. And so accountability, transparency, investigations, all of that would help. The other thing I would say, and I say this is somebody who has worked in this area for a long time, but I knew Lamar, and I know many of the families. The ideal that somehow 25 of our citizens, including a 17-year-old boy who was raped and murdered in our prison, is somehow a statistic as opposed to something we need to work on. I just find that unacceptable. And so the truth is, many of the versions of the deaths, if you read the report, you will find were exacerbated by solitary confinement, by untrained staff, by failure to do even the most modest amount of processing and assessments. And so we believe firmly at the East Baton Rouge Prison Reform Coalition that transparency, accountability, processes and procedures that are actually adhered to will make a great difference in changing the narrative. We would like to have no deaths. It's a jail. And that's not an unacceptable or an unattainable goal.
Ma'am, could you give your name? I'm sorry, I'm Reverend Alexis Anderson.
I would like to address the question as it relates to the statistics. and I would say once the sheriff's office review the report, the numbers will speak for themselves. And as far as what Reverend Anderson was speaking to, a lot of these pre-existing conditions are not caught at the beginning during intake. A lot of time on the intake form, a detainee's pre-existing condition isn't reported, so it is not properly treated, and pre-existing condition can not be fatal if they are properly treated while incarcerated. So again, because a lot of the healthcare providers work very long hours and are grossly underpaid, and because the medical equipment are faulty, they're not able to actually prevent these preventable deaths, whether it's pre-existing conditions or not.
Another question. Reverend Alexis, correct me if I'm wrong, but were you at the Metro Council meeting last week? And you spoke out against the property tax for a mental health facility.
Let me make something very clear. I spoke out as a private citizen.
Right.
The coalition itself is actually going to partner with a number of agencies and organizations to do a town hall. What we firmly believe is there is simply not enough information available, and certainly the families that are here that have been impacted were not discussed or talked to about that issue. So yes, personally, what I said was I found not enough information. I was concerned about the issue of privatization. I was also equally concerned about the failure to have a pilot program, but I said those things as a private citizen, and I have made it clear that to me, transparency and accountability are the most crucial things. So we are right now in the process of talking to a number of groups to arrange to have a town hall so that we can meet that threshold of having citizens informed prior to the election so that they can make a decision whether that is a viable proposal.
Last, I just want to address some of the statistics that were raised by the Sheriff's Office. So in 2014, 80% of local jails did not report one death. Not one, nationally. 14% of jails nationally in 2014 reported one death. East Baton Rouge Parish Prison in 2014 reported 4 deaths. This is not typical. Jails around the country are able to safely house people who are being incarcerated pending their trial. The second point that I'd like to add is that people come to the jail and they are not free to seek their own medical care. So if someone comes in with a heart problem, it is the constitutional and moral obligation of the sheriff to provide care such that that person leaves, they are not worse off than when they came in the door. So yes, many of the deaths are due to pre-existing health conditions which were then aggravated by a failure to treat or insufficient care while involuntarily confined pending trial for a crime that they had not been convicted of.
Are there any other questions?
So I see jails and prisons as our institutions. There are institutions in the same way that our schools are our responsibility, our hospitals are our responsibility, and jails and prisons are often a closed door, hidden institution that we as a community, yes, are responsible for, but yes, our leaders and our elected officials, particularly the sheriff, are primarily responsible for. It is a core element of his job description. And everyone that has been elected in Baton Rouge and the sheriff, they are all well aware of the circumstances, including through an August 2015 presentation at the Metro City Council that detailed the faulty equipment and the inability to provide adequate health care.
As a citizen, I have been here when we defunded the mental health services. I have been here when We defunded the charity system. I have been here when we closed down any services in North Baton Rouge. I have been here when Baton Rouge General told us for an entire year that they would shut down their emergency room in the mid-city area without sufficient funding. I have been here when this parish gave a fully functional hospital to the Baton Rouge Police Department. I think it's about choices. And I think we have this awesome opportunity right now as citizens and taxpayers to get educated about where we are choosing our funding and to reimagine public safety. Because if I can just say this, I cannot imagine how we think we are a safer city if the place where supposedly the bad people are under control, that 17-year-old children get raped, that all sorts of things that are unaccountable and unacceptable happen. And so I think the responsibility is that first we have to shine a light on all the decisions that brought us to this place. It's not one decision, it is many decisions, but they've all had the same impact. We cannot keep criminalizing the mentally ill by policy and procedure. We cannot keep funding I-tips and other things and saying we don't have money. And so the truth is, yes, as taxpayers we do, we bear a burden. But I would also say, truthfully, the coalition is here to do three things. The coalition, and this is the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition. One is to be a resource to the families that have been impacted by this system, first and foremost, without any hesitation, for those who have paid the ultimate cost and lost family members, but for those whose family members are currently incarcerated. We want to be a resource and a safe one to those folks. Our second role is we want to reimagine a system where no family has to be up nights worried about whether their family members will be okay because they got picked up for a traffic violation and maybe they won't make it out of that prison alive. And thirdly, we do believe that, as the Bible says, where your heart is, so goes your treasure. That we don't need a bigger prison. We need better public safety policies. And those are not the same thing. We have a lot of places and a lot of choices we can make, and all of them do not lead to building a bigger, better prison. And so I think one of the things that with the reform coalitions that are working, that is the Capital Area Coalition, that is Together Baton Rouge, that is real. There are a number of groups that have come to that very same realization, Republicans and Democrats, that it's not about building a bigger prison, it's about reimagining public safety, and we believe that's possible. But we also believe that accountability matters. Those 25 families have a right to know what happened to their family members, and they deserved independent investigations of each and every one of those deaths as a matter of policy. And that simply did not happen. So we are beyond the price or the time of saying it's this council person, it's this politician. We just want reform and we want change, and we want not to have to be at another press conference or another homegoing saying that this one didn't make it out of our governmental entity. When you take someone's freedom away, you have an obligation to ensure their safety.
Thank you, Reverend.
Why should the folks who don't know anyone in prison, don't have any family members in prison, why should they care about this? What impact does this have on those people?
Well, I want to first make clear that that is everyone, right? So any chance you have of your child being picked up and put in the Baton Rouge jail, that is everyone every day. And so you might not have someone in there today, but we all have family and friends who struggle with mental health. We all have family and friends who struggle with drug addiction. We all have family and friends who have problems. And so it is the problem of everyone. And that's what I would say to that. Does anyone else want to speak to it?
Spend all your money on jail.
Can I get you with the mic? Yeah, sorry.
Spend all your money locking folk up, you can't get better roads. Bottom line, you have to make choices. And so, truthfully, it ends up impacting everybody. And the truth is, most of us know somebody who's been impacted by this system. The truth is, there's a lot of shame around this. People don't want anybody to know they have a family member that's struggling with mental health or substance abuse or may have been picked up by the police. So I dare say, if you've ever had a friend that drove drunk, if you've ever had a friend that smoked a joint, if you've ever had a friend that got loud and obnoxious after an incident, then you have somebody already who's been impacted by the system. They just got lucky. And what we're saying to people is that you got to choose. We can choose to be better. We can choose to be better. We can choose to know what's going on in our name. Because all these lawsuits, every time somebody Googles Baton Rouge and what they find is the Reuters report, or they find the Promise of Justice report, or they see another report about prisons, or they see another report about how we take small children in school and have police officers walk them out. Why would you start a business in that kind of environment? So whether or not you have a family member, you have a vested interest in this being the absolute best community it can be. And I go back to my first point. You want better roads, you got to figure out something else to do with your money.
My name is Holly Mahan. I am a local leader with LPA Louisiana's Prison Alternatives. This local group tells me I'm in the wrong lane because I'm in the legislative lane. It's a backup lane. I don't have anybody in prison. None of my family's ever been in prison. My father served 30 years in the military. He's now currently dying for that. My brother's still in the military. I can't think of anybody that's in prison that belongs to my bloodline. I don't have any friends in prison. But I like my dollars in my pocket. And when LPA found out I was Republican, Lord, lay it down, okay? Because it's not about if you're left wing or right wing. It doesn't matter. It's right and wrong. That's the end game here. So the bipartisan, nonpartisan, I'm tired of labels. The labels, I'm done with it. I'm over it because we need the legislative lane and the local advocates to come together, and we need to tackle it from both sides. If you enjoy $700 million going to prisons every year, congratulations. I don't. I walk down the middle of the road. I can see right and wrong though. Is it right to lose 25 members of our society in a jail? By the way, it's a jail, not a prison. Let me explain to y'all what a prison is. A prison is Angola. A prison is St. Gabriel. A prison is David Way. A prison is not East Baton Rouge Parish. Jail. They want to be important, and they think because the state pays a few dollars a day, I believe it's what, 24? God love you. Just because they get $24 a day for these state prisoners, they want to be a prison. It's not. Stop glorifying the heinous activity that's going on in there for simple things. Simple. A traffic stop. Because a man is at a hotel waiting for his car to be dropped off, that he told somebody he would meet him there, and he couldn't afford a cell phone to call the man and say, I can't come back and meet him. Meet me somewhere else. No, it just doesn't make sense. Just right and wrong. Stop lefting and righting, just right and wrong. Open your eyes, open your mind, and stop blaming individuals without knowing their story. In Louisiana, we are notorious for, you did A, you get B, and we'll see you later. That's it. End of story. It's over with. We don't care how it happened, what the situation is. I had a lot cut out of a bill that I personally saw through this year, but thank God we're gonna get some help for some veterans. Somebody's got to get out of prison, and somebody's got to stop dying in prison. It's just right and wrong. Period. End of story. And I don't know anybody there, and I care.
All right. Anyone else? All right, well, I just want to conclude by thanking everyone for coming today. I want to particularly thank the Foundation for Louisiana and their support of this report. Without their support, it's unlikely this would have, we've been able to do this, so thank you so much. If you'd like to know more about the what you can do to help, please feel free to join the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition. They are going to be having a meeting on Wednesday, August 22nd at 6 p.m. at the Baton Rouge Main Library at Goodwood. There's also a Facebook group called East Baton Rouge Parish Prison Reform Coalition. We all know that Louisiana is a world leader when it comes to incarceration. We at PJI, however, are encouraged to see the scrutiny directed at our criminal justice system by our community and by our media. Conversations on these issues go to the heart of what kind of state we want to be, and hopefully we will lead us towards a safer and more humane state. Thank you.